My son embarrassed me in front of 25 guests during Christmas dinner, and what happened afterward changed both of our lives forever. My name is Margaret Hayes. I am 64 years old, and for most of my life I believed that a mother's love meant sacrifice. I believed it meant giving everything you had so your child could have a better future. What I did not understand was that giving too much can sometimes destroy the very person you are trying to help. The moment everything changed happened on Christmas Eve. The dining room glowed with holiday lights. The table was covered with expensive decorations, crystal glasses, and enough food to feed a small army. I had spent the entire day cooking. The turkey was perfect, the pies were cooling on the counter, and every guest seemed happy. My son, Ethan, sat proudly at the head of the table beside his wife, Vanessa. Throughout dinner he talked about his career, his success, and the wonderful life he had built for himself. Listening to him, you would have thought he owned the world. Then he put down his wine glass and looked directly at me. "Mom, there is something we need to discuss." The room became quiet. "If you are going to keep living here, I think it is time you start contributing financially. Everyone should pay their fair share." For a moment I thought I had heard him wrong. Then Vanessa nodded and added that every adult should be responsible for their own expenses. No one said a word in my defense. 25 people sat there watching me. My heart broke, but not because of the insult. It broke because I realized my son truly believed what he was saying. He honestly thought he was supporting me. The truth was exactly the opposite. The luxury penthouse where we were sitting belonged to me. The expensive SUV parked downstairs belonged to me. The credit cards they used for shopping belonged to me. Everything around them existed because of work my late husband and I had spent decades doing. Yet somehow my son had convinced himself that he had built it all alone. I stood slowly and folded my napkin. "Thank you for inviting me to dinner," I said calmly. Then I walked away. That night, I packed a suitcase. As I folded my clothes, memories flooded my mind. 40 years earlier, my husband Robert and I had started with almost nothing. He worked construction jobs during the day while I handled bookkeeping at night. We saved every dollar we could. We skipped vacations, bought second-hand furniture, and worked weekends while everyone else rested. Little by little, we purchased small properties, then bigger ones. Eventually, we built a successful real estate company worth millions. When Robert died unexpectedly from a heart attack, I became the owner of everything we had created together. I never told Ethan how much we had. I wanted him to build confidence through hard work instead of inheritance. When he graduated from college and struggled financially, I quietly helped him. I arranged for him to rent one of our luxury apartments at a fraction of its value. I approved the company vehicle he drove. I even provided a credit card for emergencies. The problem was that emergency spending became a lifestyle. Designer clothes, luxury vacations, expensive restaurants, and I paid for all of it while remaining silent. That Christmas night, I finally understood that my silence had become part of the problem. The next morning, I met with my attorney. By the end of the meeting, 3 decisions had been made. The credit card would be canceled. The vehicle would be returned. The apartment lease would not be renewed. It was time for Ethan to experience life without hidden support. The first shock arrived 2 days later. His wife attempted to make a purchase at a luxury store. Her card was declined. She called the bank and discovered the account had been canceled. Hours later, Ethan received official notice that his apartment lease would not be renewed. The next morning, company employees arrived to collect the SUV. Within 72 hours, the comfortable world they had taken for granted began falling apart. For the first time in years, Ethan started asking questions. Who actually owned the apartment? Who paid for the vehicle? Who controlled the money? The answers led him straight back to me. When he finally learned that I owned the company and nearly every asset he enjoyed, he was devastated. Not because he lost the apartment, not because he lost the car, because he realized how badly he had misunderstood the woman who raised him. A few weeks later, he moved into a small apartment he could truly afford. It was old, cramped, and located far from the glamorous neighborhoods he once enjoyed. His wife hated it. Within months, she left. Suddenly, Ethan was alone. For the first time in his life, he had to survive on his actual income. He learned to budget. He learned to cook. He learned what it meant to work hard for every dollar. At first, he was angry. Then he became humbled. Finally, he began to grow. Months passed. One evening, I received a message from him. "Mom, I understand now." Those 4 words brought tears to my eyes. Not because everything was fixed, but because I knew he was finally learning the lesson I had failed to teach for years. Nearly 8 months after Christmas, Ethan developed a housing project designed for working families struggling to afford homes. The idea came from his own experience. He understood hardship now. He understood sacrifice. Most importantly, he understood responsibility. When he presented the project to potential investors, he had no idea. I was sitting on the board reviewing proposals. I listened quietly as he explained his vision. Gone was the arrogant young man who believed success came easily. Standing before us was a professional who had earned every bit of his confidence. When he finished speaking, I knew exactly what my husband would have said. Give him the chance. And I did. The project was approved, not because he was my son, because he had earned it. A year after that Christmas dinner, Ethan arrived at my apartment carrying bags of groceries. This time there were no luxury cars, no expensive guests, no boasting, just a mother and her son preparing dinner together. While peeling potatoes, he suddenly stopped and looked at me. Mom, thank you. For what? For letting me fail. For making me stand on my own. For showing me who I really was. I smiled and squeezed his shoulder. Sometimes the greatest gift a parent can give is not protection. Sometimes the greatest gift is allowing someone to face the consequences of their choices and become stronger because of them. That Christmas dinner had started with humiliation and heartbreak, but it ended with something far more valuable: respect. And unlike money, respect is something that can never be inherited. It has to be earned.